What's up, guys? It's your boy Crunch Time, and I'm back. James Harden has made the NBA interesting again, fam. He just reeled me back in, bro, and it feels so good. Because before this, and I don't know if it was just me or not, but the NBA it didn't feel the same, man. The product that was on the court, it just wasn't the quality that I expected or really wanted, to be completely honest. But I think I'm going to make a separate video on that topic altogether, so I won't go too deep into that. Stay tuned for that vid. But let's get into the headline of the video now, because that's what y'all are here for. So I'm a bit late to this news, but in case you don't know the specifics of the trade, I'll go through them team by team and tell you what each team got in the trade. So first up, and maybe most importantly right now, is the Brooklyn Nets, who got James Harden and a second round pick from Cleveland, which that's not worth much. Now, with this acquisition of James Harden, they could run a potential lineup of Kyrie Irving at point guard whenever he decides to stop, burning sage out in the forest or whatever he's doing, and come back to actually playing basketball, assuming he even does this season. I don't know. But yeah, this is best case scenario. They can run Kyrie at the point, Harden, Joe Harris, KD, and DeAndre Jordan. Now, on paper, man, this team is really, really good, and I think everybody agrees with that, man. 2 former MVPs in KD and Harden, Kyrie, who's a phenomenal player, and basically 3 guys on the same team who can really get you 60 points if they felt like it on any given night, man. But I don't know, man, because this team has the most question marks around it after this trade out of, I think, any team involved in this particular blockbuster trade, right? First, I just don't know how much better James Harden is than Caris LeVert in the specific role that James Harden will have to play, right? Because we're talking about Harden being a second, maybe even a third option on some nights. And for people saying that's what he was doing back in OKC, well, those days are long gone, right? Now we're talking about a guy who was breaking usage rate records not too long ago. And so to swap Caris out for Harden, I just don't know how much better Harden will be than Caris at that role, because Caris LeVert was a phenomenal player. Is a phenomenal player. I keep saying was because I'm thinking of it as he's not on the Nets anymore, but he is a bucket. He is an amazing player. And so to swap him out, I'm not sure how that'll gel, but I don't know. I feel like they'll figure it out. Usually on a team like this, on super teams with big threes, there is usually a clear 1, 2, and 3 option, right? Take the Warriors, for example. That wasn't too long ago. KD was the first scoring option, then Curry, then Clay. Simple, right? Take the Heat, for example. The Miami Heat back in 2013, 2012. That Miami Heat era, LeBron was the first option, Wade was the second option, Bosh was the third option. The Celtics back in 2009 or something like that? KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. Simple, right? Or, I guess you could swap Ray Allen. I don't know, man. But usually that's how it works on these super teams. With this team, there is no clear first, second, or third option, right? So that's, I think, where a lot of the questions are going to come in. I think KD might be the number 1 scoring option. Then maybe Harden number 2 and Kyrie number 3. I don't know. But they're all, well, I won't say all. KD's not a very ball-dominant player, or he doesn't need the ball to be effective, at least. Harden and Kyrie, I think that's where a lot of the questions also stem from. On top of that, they lost Jared Allen in this trade, and so now their defense might be worse than it already was, man, and their defense wasn't that good to begin with, right? So now in the absence of Jared Allen, you're asking DeAndre Jordan to do that, to do what Jared Allen did, to be the paint presence, to defend shots, to get up there and block shots, man. I just don't know how that's going to work, man. DeAndre Jordan just isn't that player anymore. And even besides the defense, because they can overcome the defense, they've got insane shooting and insane offensive scorers, 3 of the greatest offensive players of all time, but they have no depth, which I don't know how much that'll affect them. I think teams have proven that they don't necessarily need that much depth to win a championship, but I don't know. It will probably at some point in the season come back and bite them. That's my prediction. Overall, I don't know, man. So many questions. I didn't even take into consideration the off-court drama with Kyrie and Harden, man. They're divas, man. We just don't know what'll happen, bro. So it's tough to kind of gauge this team. Overall, I think this team will win at least one chip just because of how good they are, skill-wise, on the court-wise. I think they'll win one chip while they're together, and if they don't, well, Brooklyn fans will be down horrendous for the next decade or so because they've given away, like, all of their draft capital for, like, the next 7 years or something like that. 7 or 8 years, bro. It's crazy how much they gave up. I don't know, man. We'll just have to see with this team. Moving on, the other big team included in the trade, the Houston Rockets, they get Victor Oladipo, who they swapped out for Caris LeVert because, in that original trade with Brooklyn, I believe they got Caris and then they sent him to Indiana for Victor Oladipo. They get Dante Exum. They get Rodions Kurucs. I know, I'm pretty sure I'm saying his last name right. I don't know how to say his first name. I'm gonna be quite frank, bro. But they also get 4 first-round picks. They get Brooklyn's 2022, 2024, 2026 pick, and Milwaukee's 2022 pick, and 4 unprotected pick swaps in 2021, 2023, 2025, and 2027. So, they better be hoping Brooklyn's pretty bad, man. They better be hoping that this big 3 in Brooklyn falls apart because they've got mad picks now, right? That Milwaukee pick, that first-round Milwaukee pick in 2022, that won't be worth much because, obviously, Milwaukee has Giannis. They'll be pretty good. That'll be, like, late first round. But those other picks could be really valuable if this whole Big 3 thing doesn't work out. So that's what they should be banking on. They could run a potential lineup of John Wall, Victor Oladipo, PJ Tucker, Christian Wood, and DeMarcus Cousins. Now, I'm going to be quite honest with y'all. This team, as it's constructed right now, doesn't excite me much. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't a bad team by any stretch of the imagination, but I just don't know how far it'll take them. Because as good as John Wall has looked since his return, I just don't think the Houston Rockets can win with him as their point guard. Victor Oladipo, has looked alright, but he's far from the All-NBA and All-Defensive star we saw a couple years ago. He also will be a free agent this year, and he's going to be looking for a bag, which, to be blunt, he just isn't worth anymore. I think the Rockets also should have definitely kept Caris because he's a straight bucket, man. And he's younger than VO, which is what the Rockets should be looking for right now because otherwise they're going to be in that, like, middle ground, where they're just good enough to make the playoffs, but they'll probably be like a first-round, second-round exit every year. They've got the picks. They've got a couple solid young-ish players in Christian Wood and VO, I guess, could pass as young, but I think they're in the perfect place to just start a rebuild, man. Just don't go down this road. Don't try and, like, push into the playoffs because otherwise they're going to be in that middle ground where maybe they won't even be making the playoffs sometimes, right? Maybe they're just shy of the playoffs, 9th seed, 10th seed, which is where you never want to be because then you don't get a high draft pick and you don't get into the playoffs. So it's like, what was the point, right? I don't know if they chuck away this season. Maybe go for it this season, but next season, definitely just rebuild, man. Because if they let VO walk in free agency this year, they can free up some cap space. Then they can shop around PJ Tucker and Eric Gordon, whose trade value is up right now, and maybe even get some young pieces and picks in return, and just use the picks that they've gotten, because they've got, again, mad picks. Just use those picks wisely, and they will be set for the future. If they play this right, the Houston Rockets could be a legitimate threat, could be a legitimate title contender in, I don't know, like, five years. I know that sounds like a long time, but I just don't know what else they do from here, right? Now, these next few teams, I'll kind of talk about briefly. The Pacers, they got Caris LeVert and a second-round pick from Houston, which isn't worth much, so, nah. Caris is a bucket, as I said, and he fits the Pacers' timeline. So, I mean, it was a good pickup for them, right? And VO was going to ask for a bag in free agency, which he's just not worth. And, over the summer, it was like, dude, does he want to stay? Does he not want to stay? This is definitely better than losing VO for nothing in case he would have left in free agency. So, I mean, good on the Pacers for doing this. They're putting together something really, really special over there in Indiana, man. I'm excited for them. Moving on, the Cavs, who I think are the real winners, maybe like the sleeping, I don't know how to describe them, man, the sleeper winners of this trade, I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, they got Jarrett Allen, they snagged Taurean Prince, So I'm just really excited for this team because they're young, they're energetic, man. I love them, man. I just love the team. Jarrett Allen fits their timeline way better than Drummond does, who I think they should either trade for more young pieces or let walk in free agency this year, because he's going to be a free agent, an unrestricted free agent this year. So I think they just let him walk because he's also going to be looking for a bag, which I just don't think they should pay him. He's a good player and all, but thanks, no thanks. Just build around Jarrett Allen. And Taurean Prince, he's solid. He's just a decent player. He just does things decently, man. I don't know what else to say. They're just going to be a really good team in 3 to 4 years with Sexland, which I think is still hilarious. They've got Okoro, they've got Jarrett Allen, and they've even got Kevin Porter Jr., who I think will be a solid player whenever he returns to play. Maybe he's playing right now. I don't know. I haven't watched that many Cavs games this year, guys. I'm going to be quite frank with y'all, but I don't know. Kevin Porter Jr. is someone I think could be really solid. And so where does this put them? I think they're one solid draft pick away from being a real title contender, honestly, because Sexland already looks great. They've got Larry Nance. They've got K Love, who I haven't even talked about. He's all right. He's decent whenever he comes back from his calf injury. Hoping for a speedy recovery for him whenever he returns, but he's going to be solid for them. So, yeah, I think they could be really, really good in 3 to 4 years. I mean, yeah, so this blockbuster trade definitely shook up the NBA a bit, brought some new energy and much needed energy to the NBA season, if I'm being honest. And I'm just really excited to see how this all plays out, man. What do y'all think of this trade? I'm interested to hear who you guys think won the trade and who you think lost the trade. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. And hey, maybe even consider subscribing to join Crunch Gang. I don't know, man. I'm still working on what to call you guys. But with that being said, hope y'all have a tremendous day. I'm back. It's your boy Crunch Time, and I'll see you next time.